Hi everyone, this is reJUVEnation episode 14, and this is the first live for me, and I have a guest here on after a rough one, I think. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is AJ. I live in Columbus, Ohio, and I have been a UV fan since Ronaldo joined. No, just kidding. So I have been a UV fan since since around 2003. So after the um, amazing Champions League run, and they had so many likable players, so I kind of fell in love with UV, and I have been a fan ever since.
Awesome. Um, more of a positive story than this match that we just finished. So unfortunately, Juventus bow out of the round of 16 once again, um, falling 3-2 to Porto with basically, you know, a man up for 60 minutes. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough, and it's a tough one to swallow. Although, are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. So, given that the way we got eliminated against Lyon and Ajax in the past 2 years, this one had a similar flavor to it. You know, when we drew Porto, we were so excited, but then after the first leg, the performances were horrible, and even in Serie A, they have been very inconsistent. So this was not like surprising at all. But I did not expect it to be this dramatic, I would say.
Yeah, Chiesa kind of took us for a ride, I feel.
Yeah, I hope he didn't. But
He gave us some false hope there.
yeah.
But I mean, Chiesa, I guess, is the man of the hour of the season potentially. We'll get into, who I guess you can take out of this match, with something positive, because there was, to me,
Mhm.
sure, we won, and like it looked like offensive, I guess, if you're looking at the score line, and we did create a lot of chances, and majority of the game was played in their half. However, uh like we've seen all season, we're only reactionary, and a team like that is never going to be successful. Um, Especially, if we're looking at Serie A in general, um, the league is very tactical, and in Europe specifically, if you make a mistake, like it weighs way more than any, in any other competition. Like a league, you have X amount of games. Um, it's a long season with, teams playing in multiple competitions, so it's up and down. But in Europe, you can't make those mistakes. And again, you know, I'm not Demiral's biggest fan, that's for sure. He made a crucial one, and I think you can argue Alexandro was a little lazy, covering out wide, and that's a fair argument. But the cross, like, wasn't some sort of like threatening cross. I
Yeah.
feel like it was a routine cross. You just get there, and like make the striker feel behind him, like
Hmm.
that you're right there, and just keep a body on him. But like he goes basically right through him, and I don't know why people are arguing that that isn't a penalty. What's your take on that? Like, are you with that crowd, or is it a penalty for you?
I think I mean, nowadays penalties are so soft, so everything is being called a penalty. But it's still like Demiral's fault at the end of the day. He was, I mean, he's usually too aggressive, which is the worst quality about him. And the striker was not even facing the goal; he was facing the other way. So he wasn't in a position, to shoot or do anything useful. And Demiral was just, I think the green tie, got to him, and he went aggressively at the defender. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like when I say that the cross wasn't threatening, it's also the guy receiving the cross wasn't in a he wasn't receiving it in a threatening position. So he
Yeah.
wasn't even, like he was forced to put his back to the goal. And I mean, at that point,
Mhm.
you just kind of put that body on him, and he'll try to turn you, and then make a challenge, or he'll pass it out wide or backwards. Um, and so that was disappointing, and again happened in the first half, and that seems to be a theme with this Juve. And it makes me wonder, because there's a lot of talk on Twitter in regards to, whenever something goes wrong, which is happening frequently this season, who the blame goes to. And there's only so many times we can say it's this player or that player, because honestly it's been our whole team that has been, lapses of concentration,
Yeah.
lack of awareness, and straight up just like mishandling the ball. Um, but considering all of that, like for me, it's to a certain extent on Pirlo, because this is happening
Yeah.
so frequently, and every single press conference is we should have did this. Like, we started off bad in the first half, but we did this in the second half to turn it around or whatever.
Yeah, this has
It's-
been like
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, this has been like a theme for the entire season. Sometimes we play terribly in the first half, and then they play much better in the second half. And as you mentioned, like we can't live like this, and we can't make those mistakes in Europe. So the tie, unfortunately, was decided by like two stupid mistakes in the first leg with Bentancur, and in this leg with Demiral. So Pirlo obviously does deserve some blame, but I think it's due to his inexperience. So yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of excuses, I think, for Pirlo.
yeah, yeah.
Um, which, I mean, to a certain extent, it's fair that a lot of key pieces were missing, and COVID and all of the above, condensed schedule. But we're not the only team that's going through it, which is where I draw like the line a little bit. Um, and specifically in Europe, like Delict, for example, there's a quote of him saying, "We started playing too late." And
Mhm.
how many times can you say that?
So
It's
many times. Yeah,
it's like it comes to a point where, well, when are you gonna show up from minute zero? Because especially in Europe, I don't get it. But we'll try to stay a little bit positive, and I'll start with the man of the match for me, and I'm sure it's across the board, because he's the man
yeah,
of the tie. He's the only guy who, every time he gets the ball, you're excited to see what's coming next. Um, he pretty much got onto every single ball that was hit forward toward him. Somehow, it has to be Chiesa.
yep,
I would argue that he's been our best player of the season. Um, very contrary to, you know, Ronaldo today. It was like two opposite performances for me. I think Ronaldo was the worst for me. Who was your man of the match and flop of the match?
yeah. I agree with you. So man of the match, obviously Chiesa. Worst player in the match, probably a tie between Ronaldo and Demiral. And it's actually like a little surprising. Like in those, big Champions League games, you expect Ronaldo to be the person who scores and does all of these things. But it was very unexpected to have, Chiesa, and many people did not want him at Juve and thought he was very overpriced. But at the same time, he was the star of this game and even the first game. So we were we did have hope because he scored that goal in the first leg. And Ronaldo, like for both games, even in Porto, he just wasn't good. And I hated how many players were just trying to force the ball to him. They give it to Ronaldo, and they basically expect him to do something amazing. But no, the magic didn't appear today, which was so unfortunate.
I didn't see that too much today, I want to say. I felt like
Yeah, yeah.
every time I don't know, he didn't look good today at all. I felt like we were actually building more without him because I felt like he didn't even get on the ball much like he usually does. Um I felt like it was very dominant, so we didn't
Mhm.
really even go through the middle. And when we did, it was kind of Morata getting the touches. It was mostly the game was mostly played through Quadrado and Chiesa.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like at this point, it's like whip it in and let's see what happens. Like that looked like the tactic to me, which is which is just unacceptable from from this team. Like I know that Pirlo is inexperienced, but why go away from the tradition of Juve if if you can't like successfully play this different style of play? Like what do you have what is your take on Pirlo's approach? Like looking at this game today, can you tell me what Pirlo's approach was?
I wasn't really sure. I mean, everything as you said, like was going through Cuadrado and Chiesa, so they would pass it to one of them, and then they would try to even to either like cut inside or put in a cross and just hope that Ronaldo or Morata would be at the end of that cross to score. So that was like the main theme to this game. But I hated our approach in the first half, especially in the beginning. It looked like um, Porto was the team that was in behind and needed to score. It did not look as if we were the team that needed to score. So Porto kind of dominated in the first 20 to 30 minutes, and they got themselves into very good positions, and they got that penalty. So I
Kind of
was,
looked like
yeah,
kind of looked like the game against Lazio to me.
yeah, yeah, very similar. In the first half and the second half, we played so much better, and we scored twice, but it was too late. So yeah, so this has been like the main highlight or the main theme to Pirlo's recent matches. But as you said previously, like in Europe, we can't go like this. Performances have to be consistent for 90 minutes. You know, we can't just sleep for like 30 to 40 minutes and then hope for a miracle in the second half. Yeah.
So the press conferences, the post match just came out. So I'll read some of the quotes. So Pirlo said, "We made four mistakes over the two legs, and in the last 16 of the Champions League, that's a lot. Now we have to focus our thoughts on Serie A because it's only March and there's still time to climb back up the table. We made a decent start tonight, then conceded a penalty, but we quickly pulled ourselves together and were in control in the second half, aided, of course, by being a man up. We needed to stretch them as much as possible, and we tried to do that without rushing things. That's how we scored our goals. We'll have time to improve now and work on things we didn't get the chance to do before with all the back to back games." So, I mean, all I hear there is excuses.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't think that we started well. I mean, we did have that chance right off the bat, pretty much with Quadrado to Morata, basically put it on a plate for him.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, Porto had a few chances as well, even before they got the penalty. I think Demiral again was caught, and they hit the crossbar on a header, I believe. And I
Mhm.
think Bonucci like kind of looked at him saying, "What are you doing?" And that's coming from Bonucci. Um, so some more comments here. Delict. It's gutting to go out like this after playing with a man advantage for most of the game. Porto got off to a good start, then we start playing. So contrary to what Pirlo said, we did well in the second half, but weren't able to win it. Um, Basically, Quadrado and Chiesa saying the same stuff. Chiesa said we shouldn't make excuses. We should have gone through and we didn't. This guy's the only guy who really, says it how it is, I feel, because I read
Yeah.
I read these comments and put them into my video after every post match. And there was one, I think it was against Verona, where Pirlo said, we were lacking experienced players. And then Chiesa said it wasn't about that. Everyone knows how much the weight of this jersey is. So I don't know if there's a disconnect there, or I'm not too sure what's going on with this team. I don't know. Given all that, like, are we Pirlo in or Pirlo out?
I'm leaning Pirlo out, especially if there's a good option available out there. So currently we're in third place in Serie A, but even like finishing in top four is now not a guarantee. Like I don't expect the team to come back to Serie A with a very strong mentality. Like after the Lazio match, we remember like Morata saying this is going to be a new start, and we thought that the team spirit is back. But then things didn't work out today. So this has been like the main highlight of this season. So many ups and downs, and every time we think that Pirlo's system is like coming together, it falls apart again, and then we go through so many ups and downs. So I'm leaning Pirlo out, and I think he has been a little bit overprotected. That's because he's Pirlo and he's very charismatic, and people like him.
He
So
wears a
imagine, yeah,
suit. He
yeah,
doesn't smoke cigarettes.
yeah. He has a nice beard. Yeah,
He drinks wine. He has a vineyard.
yeah. I mean, but imagine if it was Sarri that was in third place
I mean,
got eliminated in the round of 16, then people would just be asking for his head. So yeah,
Allegri got ripped on for
yeah,
winning, just for winning a way that people weren't happy about, and he got ripped on for getting the results. And I was on a live yesterday, and I read the quote about, and this was in regards to Inter's win and all of the discussion regarding how they won yesterday. And I read the quote about Allegri saying, and I think this is referring to the Champions League, because he talks about getting past to the semifinals. And he says, if you want entertainment, go to the circus. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
100% right. Unfortunately, we didn't even have the chance to defend a lead because we were
Mhm.
trailing this entire tie. But that's getting it wrong from the beginning, and going to Porto knowing that they haven't conceded a goal at home the entire Champions League competition thus far, and just playing in their half, doing nothing with the ball. When If you look at all of our goals this season and everything that we've created that was significant was against the run of play. That's the only way we
Yeah,
can actually create anything. When teams just park it right in front of us, we don't have a good enough midfield, to break those teams down. And as you saw today, everything went through the flanks. Nothing was ever through the middle
mhm.
because, Arthur, I think, had like a few passes that Chiesa was just offside, that went through the middle, that reminds us of um, Pirlo's abilities back in the day.
Mhm.
But other than that, there's nothing going on through the middle. Everything is being pushed out to the wing, and Quadrado. He's top assist man both in the Champions League and for us, but it does take him quite a few crosses to pin one on. But
Yeah,
but to his defense, he put in quite a few crosses that were decent crosses, but no one was there to kind of put the ball in the net. Other than Chiesa, did you find anyone else, really really good or good enough to mention, or bad enough to mention?
good enough to mention. I would say maybe Arthur. So he did well in keeping position and in distributing the ball around. So he's so calm under pressure. Bad. I know he scored, but I was so disappointed with Rabio, especially like since he scored that amazing goal against Lazio, has been trying to shoot from outside the box, but it just didn't work. And for me, like his worst highlight of the match was maybe it was in the second minute of extra time, like maybe the 122nd minute where he I don't know if that was a cross or he was trying to shoot, but he just shot the ball like absolutely nowhere where he was supposed to cross it to where there were like 5 or 6 people. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
But
at the end of the
that was
game.
like yeah. But that was somewhat frustrating.
That seems to be also another theme that we've experienced this season. Frustration with this team, and the up and down, inconsistent team. Um, my brother actually compared what we've seen this season from Juve to Roma, and what we're used to to seeing like from a club like Roma.
Yeah,
Like they look good one day, they look like they're Barcelona one day, and then they lose to a bottom side.
yeah.
And they look
It's
awful.
Pazza Juve
Sorry.
this year. It's Pazza Juve, not
Yeah,
Pazza
it,
Inter this
it
year.
is, and it's crazy because we have the best player in the world, and there's that clip of Nedved kicking the boards at the end of the game, and that got me really upset because, um, like you're selling, like what are you trying to sell us? Like, are you trying to sell us a rebuild? Because then why are you kicking the boards? You're saying that
Yeah,
Pirlo's inexperienced, and we're aiming for top four, and this and that. So then why are you kicking the boards? Like this is the team that you guys built, and then you hire a coach because he's a cheap buy during COVID.
yeah,
Um, Not really any replacements really available. Um, like Pochettino is never gonna happen for that amount of money. Guardiola is never going to come to this team because we can't give him 500 million every transfer market. So there was limited options in general. Um,
yeah. I know, like it's unpopular, but they might as well just get Sarri, and got him his players and tried to work something out. So,
but he's
I
he's
mean,
not a he's not a fan favorite. So
yeah,
how we scroll through Twitter and no one is blaming Pirlo. This is
yeah,
exactly the reason why he was
yep,
hired, right? Because Sorry would have got so much heat, and they're forced to play that card because he's an experienced coach, and he won. If he continued with us, he already won a scudetto, so now your expectations are a little bit higher, and it's a bad look for them. So I feel like that's why they went with Pirlo. He's a fan favorite. You can always pull the card that he's inexperienced. Um, and knowing that we haven't really addressed the midfield on top of that, fans are blaming the personnel themselves, instead of the coach. And if he's inexperienced, then call it like it is. He's
yeah.
inexperienced and he's not good enough. Like that's what you're saying, right? So he's to be blamed as well.
Yeah, 100%. So, and just notice how the expectations are different now that we have Pirlo. When it was Allegri, it was win every single trophy, including the Champions League, or you're out. So that was the bar for him. So the fact that he had a very high bar, this means that he's a great coach, in my opinion. But now we have Pirlo. People are saying, "Oh, if we only develop some youngsters and we finish top four, then that's good. And we make a decent run in the Champions League." These are not standards for Juve. These are standards for the likes of Roma or Napoli. Um,
100%.
but yeah, and at the same time, it doesn't make sense to do a rebuild when you still have Ronaldo with his very high wages. So maybe if Ronaldo left, then that's the time to rebuild and buy new players. But they just threw Pirlo there with a bunch of experienced players. And I know people keep saying, "Oh, Pirlo has the backing of the players." But Sarri lost the dressing room. I mean, how did that work out for us? Like, it did not work out any good, right? So Pirlo does have the backing of the players, but we're currently in third place in Serie A, and we got eliminated in the Champions League. But when we had Sarri, at least we won Serie A, even though we got eliminated in the Champions League. So I feel that fans kind of unfairly treat coaches based on their likability and personality. Pirlo is obviously more likable than Sarri, and that's why he's overprotected.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and Yeli is a big Pirlo fan as well, which may be playing into the role. And um, Agnelli wasn't a fan of of Sadi. There was reports at the time that were saying that Agnelli it wasn't even Agnelli's pick. Um, he didn't want Sadi to like it wasn't his choice of coach.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it was Nedved's and Paratici's choice. Yeah,
and I mean, through this all, I feel like I'm an Allegri fan, but um,
yeah, me
I
too.
feel like Allegri, would have done more with this personnel. I mean, if you look in 2017, the team wasn't that great, and I say this often. Like Allegri brought first of all, he transformed Mandzukic into a left winger, and it worked.
Yeah,
And then, he brought a midfield, two midfielders in Pjanic and Kadira, like to a Champions League final, and made it work. He had depth like Sturaro and like Lemina, and he still like
mhm.
found a way to make it work. And he went far in the Champions League, and did what he had to do in Italy as well. So I guess you can argue that the Italian league is also improving, the
Yeah.
teams around us, but it's hard to argue, when you're dropping points to Crotone and Benevento in the beginning of the season, when all the teams, like for example Inter, are still in the Champions League group stages, just like you, having the same amount of games as you. Um, so yeah, it's just a tough one in that sense. I want to ask you, just because we're still kind of touching on players here and there. How did you think of Bonucci, and do you think that if he was actually fit, should he have stayed in the game?
Um, I think the fact that he was subbed out means that he was done for the game. Like we did know before this match that he was not gonna play like a full game. But I do like Bonucci. I know people hate him, but I think he's very underappreciated. And people like to call out his mistakes, much more than calling out Demiral. Um, and obviously, Bonucci is not like a fan favorite. But last season, in the Sarri season, Bonucci played 35 games for 90 minutes. So up until we won the Scudetto, he played every single match. So he's always available. And the fact that he's good on the ball takes the pressure off the midfielders. So in the previous game against Porto, Bonucci wasn't there, and we were forced to use Bentancur to create from the back, and it led to that mistake. So I think Bonucci is a very important piece to this match. I don't know if he should have been like kept during this game. I mean, they're probably like the player and the coach. They know better about whether he was gonna be fit or not. So they probably did the best that they could do. So yeah.
And do you think I know there's a lot of up and down with Quadrado. Um, you're either on the ship or you're off the ship with him, I feel. Me personally, I'm on the ship. Um, he, hit the crossbar on that one chance that I really thought, that was it for us. Um, Obviously assisted Chiesa in a piece of action he's very used to. In the preview, I kind of highlighted his partnership with Morata in the Champions League, and they're like the top assist to goal pairing with a total of 3 goals that came from Cuadrado to Morata. And so I really thought, and especially when I saw that first chance, I was like, okay, here we go again. Cuadrado puts the cross on right on Morata's head, and I thought for sure it's going in. Um, According to some stats here, he had 12 key passes. Like I said, obviously the assist. Um, so and that shot that wasn't on target but hit the crossbar. You also see the worst of Cuadrado. When when he just laid down there and I was like, "Oh my god, this is it." He just laid down in the box, because he like slipped and was kind of beat at the same time, and then stupid giveaways here and there. What side of Juan Cuadrado are you on?
I like Cuadrado, so I feel that a lot of the balls go through him, and he has an incredible work rate. So he does make stupid decisions from time to time, but I think that's because he gets the ball a lot and does a lot of things. So it's easier to make a mistake when you do so many things. So I prefer the likes of him than someone like Ramsey, who disappears for most of the game and you don't even know if he's playing. So he has had like so many assists this season, and at the end of the day, he's like a squad player, and he's a very useful player. So he's not supposed to be like the big star of this team. But at the same time, given his salary is not high at all. He's like an extremely useful player, and a little bit underappreciated, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's always the comparison between, Cancelo, the whole Cancelo and Danilo deal itself. Um, you know, Quadrado is not as talented, like raw talent, than Cancelo is, but I mean, he's putting up the numbers this year, and he has been more consistent this year. Um, so it's hard to argue. They're both kind of crappy defensively, and it is what it is. You kind of live with that, especially in modern football. And isn't that what Pirlo's philosophy is with this style of play? Is always having the ball. So like you're if you always have the ball, the other team can't score type of thing. Um, and playing this positive soccer, whatever that is, um, positive fast play. Like we don't play like that. And Juventus has never played like that. And you shouldn't be trying to start it with guys like Bentancur and McKennie and Rabiot in the midfield because it's just not going to work. Um, so I don't know what to like what more to say on Pirlo's approach, but I was wondering if anything in this game, you say like, yeah, we need to take this positive to the game against Cagliari.
Um, Maybe Chiesa. That's the only positive thing that I can think of. The fact that he did so well in a very critical match shows that he's worth the money that he was paid. And I don't think his salary is as high as the likes of Rabiot or Ramsey, who contribute a lot less, but they have like outrageously high wages. So he did like the best that he could do, and I was so impressed by his stamina. I don't know if it was the right decision to sub him out. Maybe he was tired and he was done for the day. But Chiesa is definitely the uh, most positive parts that we can take from this match. And I like what he said after the match that he kind of took full responsibility and yeah, so he did his best, and I'm glad we signed him.
He sounds like a future captain.
Yeah,
None of this Demerol, and
yeah,
the lick sounds like he could be, but um, we miss. I feel like we missed a leader today.
yeah.
And
The Lect is a Rayola client, so
sorry.
the Lect is a Rayola client,
Oh
and
yeah,
his clients like
he wants
change
to keep
clubs a
moving them.
lot.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
wants to keep
yeah.
moving
So
them
I don't,
because he makes that commission as well.
yeah, so I don't think it's the right it's right move to build around Delict as the captain because he can leave in at any point, and he has a release clause. So the fact that he has a release clause means that he has other plans on his mind in the future.
That's
And
a good
Demiral is still, yeah,
That's a good point. That's not spoken about really.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a solid point you made that, hasn't I've never kind of seen that point. A lot of people just call for him to take the captain's ban even when guys are out injured and You kind of go down the line and say, okay, who's going to take the ban? Um, and that hasn't come up. So and I can see that. I can see what you mean by that. So that's a
Yeah,
solid point. But go on about Demerol.
yeah, and Demiral is still like too young, and I know that he's very passionate, and but I feel sometimes he tries too hard to display his passion by making unnecessary tackles, where he's supposed to be, more calm. And yeah, so I don't know if he's going to be a captain in the future. I personally don't see that. Currently, I know it's maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think Bonucci is the most reasonable leader to have on this team. Alexandro with the armband just looks strong. He's more of this, calm introvert guy. He's not gonna, shout at people. Bonucci stayed at the club for 10 years. He's maybe number 12 or 13 in terms of total appearances, and he's still a very good player. And it doesn't make sense to have the captain as a forward. It's always better to have someone who can have a full view of all the other players. And Chesney, he doesn't have this, captain mentality.
I was just
So,
about
but
to I
yeah,
was just about to get to him because there's a lot of
yeah,
discussion about, that goal. And the wall was clearly, placed poorly, and
yeah, yeah,
they were poor themselves. All the guys in the wall were just awful to have that wall split like that. However, the ball was still fairly low. I feel like regardless of them splitting, and there wasn't a lot of pace on it. Um,
yeah,
so it was very very questionable that save because he got his hand to it. It was just a weak hand to it. And so I think
yeah.
people are focusing on the wall a lot, which is fair because it looked terrible, especially. And when you slow things down, it looks even worse if you're taking picture by picture. Um, but I mean, Chesney got a hand to it, and there wasn't much like net between his hand and the save and the post, right? So like he had it covered. He had it
Mhm.
covered, and it just, it wasn't a strong enough save. So it ended up sneaking in behind him. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like you can argue why not why not keep Buffon between the posts, like in important matches, um, because his leadership is, unmatched. His communication between, him and his guys right in front of him, like especially with COVID, you can hear Buffon every single second of the game yelling at whoever to do whatever he needs them to do.
Mhm.
And I noticed that this was like the first free kick that no one, like Quadrado usually lays on the floor, and I don't know why, but there was no one
Yeah,
there
yeah,
to play that role this time. And I'm not sure who that falls on, if the goalie like conducts that. I was always under the impression that the goalie fixes the wall and tells the players where to go and things like that. Um, so I don't know. I think that's an interesting little storyline there. Um, and how good is Chesney, and do we look just worse with him between the sticks as opposed to Buffon?
yeah. Usually, I think Buffon does much better when he has Chiellini and Bonucci in front of him. At this point in the match, it was De Ligt and Demiral, I believe. So, and I feel that maybe Pirlo didn't want to risk having, Buffon in this match, given that I don't know when was the last time Buffon played, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now it's easy for us to say maybe Buffon should have played after seeing this mistake by Chesney. But I think, yeah, Chesney should have definitely done better. I mean, like those types of free kicks, if it was like extremely powerful and in the top corner, maybe we can give excuses to Chesney. But people don't score these often, like in this way, where they shoot like a very low ball. Like, so those are like very savable. And the fact that did get a hand on it means that he could have prevented it from going in. So it was really frustrating to concede this goal at this time of the match. And once again, we struggle with set pieces, and this has been a theme for years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's spot on, and even the other way really. I know we got one, we ended up being rewarded on one of the corner kicks, but I think we had like 19 corner kicks.
Yeah.
That I mean, we finally took advantage of one, but of course it was too late. And I just don't know where this team goes from here. I know there's still, I mean, you're still in two competitions, um, but I don't think that, I think the Serie A is too out of reach.
Yep.
Do you think that now that we're eliminated from the Champions League and obviously are going to be playing less matches midweek, it'll be one a week until the Coppa Italia final. Other than this remake of the Napoli game, the recovering the Napoli game, do you think that changes our performances or chances, um, and limits our likeliness of dropping points in this area? Or do you
I
think that
mean,
this just doesn't matter and we're gonna play this way and drop points regardless?
I mean, I'm pretty sure the team will be more physically ready to these matches because they'll have less games to play. But at the same time, I feel that they will be mentally destroyed after this loss against Porto and the fact that they're already 10 points behind Inter. So, um, given that we never managed to be consistent since round one, I can't see why suddenly they can turn into a very consistent team. And Inter are not dropping points every week. We hope for them to drop points, but it's not happening. And they beat Atalanta over the weekend, so that was like maybe would have been a good chance for us to see Inter dropping points, but it didn't happen. So I'm pretty sure that the team mentality overall now is not in the right place, and it's going to be hard to motivate them with very low expectations. So I don't know if Ronaldo is the right person to tell, oh, our goal is to finish in top four. So um, we're definitely not in a good place at this point. I do hope that we win games in Serie A, but what I see happening is just what has happened since Pirlo was hired, which is ups and downs.
I wanna I wanna make one thing clear because I feel like a lot of people would say, oh, like we would all have a different tone if we ended up passing at like 3-1 or something in extra time. For me, this was embarrassing any way you look at it. You know, 3-1, 4-2, whatever would put us through at that point. 4-2, yeah, we would need another goal. 4-2, it's embarrassing any way you look at it.
Mhm.
That's my take. Um, you know, we we concede 2 goals to them in their house, and if it weren't for Chiesa, and it was really the only significant chance we had all game long. Um, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be winning this game 3-0. I would bet my house that we wouldn't come to Turin and win 3-0 if we were 2-0 down. And then we go and concede like in the first half when that's like a massive away goal, and you only start playing once you go down, which is just, it just doesn't make sense to me. And then to make to make matters worse, we're 11 men against 10, 11
Yeah,
men
yeah,
against 10 at under the 60th minute. It was like 54th minute, and you had all that time to make the difference. Sure, you can say that we created chances, but there's no excuse. And either way, I didn't even like look up at Rabiot's goal and like say anything about it. Like it was just embarrassing, embarrassing. at that point, and throughout the game and throughout the tie. The whole tie was just, and it's even worse because you go from Ajax to Lyon to Porto, and not to mention, it's not just Porto because Porto has had success in the Champions League, and they are actually more of a Champions League team than than they are like a league team. Like they actually show up for Champions League games and do well in the tournament. But this, according to a lot of Porto fans and a lot of people I speak to who follow the Portuguese league, this is the worst Porto in years,
Wow.
and this is a Porto that is second or third, I think third place, in a terrible Portuguese league as well. So I don't know how many excuses you can make for Juventus. When you're looking at the opposition, like sure, you're saying that our team isn't good enough, and then you look at the opposition, and you're gonna tell me that these guys are. Uh, it just I just don't like the excuses, and this team has fooled us um, a lot this season, and management has played us a lot this season. um you can't sell us one thing and then give us another. That's why that Nedved thing really gets me mad, because did you expect anything else? Like, what did you expect
Yeah.
with a guy who's never coached a day in his life, not even under someone, like not even as an assistant, and then neglecting the midfield, like for the fifth season in a row? Like, what did you expect? And paying a guy like 31 million a year, surrounded by, no one who can get the best out of him. Like, this guy on Real Madrid had 50 different guys feeding him balls and off the bench, and like the substitutes coming off the bench were like Bale, and we're putting on like Bernardeschi and Kulusevski. Like, I just don't get that, why that's the reaction when it's expected with the tools that you uh provide this company. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And speaking of substitutions, um how did you make out Pirlo's substitutions? You quickly mentioned taking off Chiesa, and you know I know that the fitness is what it is, and the condensed schedule was probably taking a toll. I don't think they really expected to go to extra time. Um, but it's hard to take off your best player when you need a goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's I 100% agree. And subbing in Kulusevski was I don't know, like I was never a big fan of him. He just has the tendency to take the ball, try and dribble, and then do absolutely nothing. He does not know how to make decisions. So he subbed in, the two biggest stars of decision making, Bernardeschi and Kulusevski. So the team was not getting anywhere, and it seemed that our only positive highlights of this match was only when Chiesa had the ball. He has incredible stamina, and he was all the balls were going through him. So he definitely did much better attacking than Cuadrado. So maybe we can argue that Chiesa should have not been subbed out, because only like maybe 5 or 10 minutes before he was subbed out, he was still like at his full speed. And I did not notice that he physically declined throughout the game. So he was on 100% stamina throughout the match. Maybe he did feel fatigue right before he was subbed in, but I don't think it was the right move to, or maybe it wasn't wise to take him out and put Kulusevski and Bernadeschi where we do need a goal.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement there. He did it also against Verona, where he subbed Kulusevski. I mean, sorry, he subbed Chiesa off in the 82nd ish minute, when we're 1-1, and every win counts at that point in Serie A, trying to catch up to the top. and he subbed him out, needing a goal for Di Pardo. So it really boggles my mind sometimes, how Pirlo has like a bulletproof vest on and is just dodging every criticism in the book. Um, I do want to thank Federico Chiesa for giving us even the slightest bit of hope with 4 shots, 3 on target, 3 successful dribbles. Of course, his 2 goals, he hit the woodwork as well. So really a stellar performance. And besides all of that on the stat sheet, this guy gives you 100% game in and game out, takes the responsibility and owns up, and is accountable for everything, even though he did his job. And he said after the game that this all kind of means nothing. um I don't want to be praised for this performance because there's nothing positive to take home tonight. um and he's spot on with that. I hope that he continues his form, and never say never in Serie A and with Juventus. um but it's starting to look like we don't have that fino alla fine uh tradition anymore. And I don't know if it's the players or the manager, combination of both. But there was a quote after the game. um First of all, there was a quote from Laudrup that said, like, he watched Juve throughout this season so far, and he just asks himself, what is Pirlo trying to do with this team? um and then there was another quote. Let me see here. Someone saying, they have been they have been like their shirt, not worthy of their history. So I think this person is referring to the tire shape type of design of our stripes on our jersey, and that you know we kind of look like that this season. Um,
Yeah, and it was a little embarrassing to post that, motivational video for the Porto game.
oh,
I
we
feel that,
always get
yeah,
embarrassed with those
yeah,
things. It's awful. Yeah, my brother's like, he called me after the game and he's like, I didn't even watch that video because I knew that they were gonna lose, and they always do stuff like that. And I mean, they're making that Amazon Prime of this season that we're gonna end up with 0 trophies. I'm not confident at all in winning the Coppa Italia, especially if we play this same way of pushing everyone up, and Atalanta would kill us on the counter 100%. So there's zero expectations there. Um, that's pretty much all I have to say about this team, about this game. I pretty much don't think that we've been good pretty much all season. I've been against this type of play that Pirlo's trying to employ. I don't think we have the right personnel for it, and especially if you're you're going through injuries and condensed schedules. You shouldn't be trying to play this way every single game. The only time I really seen us change the way we played was against Roma, and I think that was our best game of the season, and we were the most clinical with our possession in that game, which was limited, but um, that's how we won. So I really feel like if we don't make top four, 100% Pirlo needs to go. Um, if we make top four, you know, you can argue his stay, considering all of these factors. Um, but no top four, and he's gone for me.
yeah. Same for me. Even though if Allegri is available, I would take him even right now. So I wouldn't wait until the end of the season. So
That's I'm a huge Allegri fan, so
yeah,
um, I feel sometimes I feel like he's waiting for Juve to call him because you know, I think teams are crazy for not like an Arsenal or something, not trying to pick him up. It's just it just doesn't make sense to me. He really tries
Yeah,
to make the most out of his personnel as opposed to, enforcing some type of play on the players he has. He tries to get the best out of his players, out of his disposal. Um,
yeah, I think he showed the true potentials of this team. Now we're currently talking about the winning the Champions League as a main objective, and that's because he reached the final twice in 2015 and 2017. So after he made that achievement, people have started viewing reaching the Champions League and the final and winning it as something that is achievable and easy. And they forgot that we did not reach the final like between 2003 and 2015. And it was only when Allegri started managing Juve, we became like a European superpower in some way. And during his time, we eliminated the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, Dortmund, and even like people say, like in the last 3 years, we lost against Ajax, Lyon, and now Porto. But I feel that the Ajax side was much better than Lyon and Porto. So that same Ajax team eliminated Real Madrid, and they almost reached the final. But when we lost against Lyon, Lyon were seventh place in the French league, and now Porto, as you said, they're one of the worst Porto sides in the last 3 years. So I wouldn't make a comparison between Allegri's exits in the Champions League and the exits in the last 2 years under Sarri and Pirlo.
That's another solid point.
Yeah,
Because I mean, if you look at that Ajax team now, it's all broken apart because all the guys have moved on to bigger clubs because they're actually quality players. Um,
yeah,
and the coach was highly influential as well in their scheme. And they in their style of play. Everything they had the right pieces and it all worked. And we look at that Monaco team we played in the semifinals. It's kind of like a team like that, right? And that wasn't all convincing either from us. And sometimes we see that I feel from Juventus and the Azzurri playing down to our opposition a lot. And I said it. I think the pregame. Thank God we didn't need a draw because for sure that would have been a guaranteed loss. Reminding me of flashbacks against Galatasaray and Antonio Conte, and even Italy. Like they often do things like that. But you made a solid point, and I think even debatable last season if it wasn't for COVID, we might have lost the Scudetto as well because Lazio looked like an entirely different team after the restart. So it's a lot of people, Allegri gets a lot of hate, and I don't think it's really deserved. Um,
yeah. And one thing that people keep repeating is that, oh, we were terrible in the last year under Allegri. So we were like on January we were 15 points clear in Serie A. So it's crazy how people like view what we're currently going through right now as refreshing, even though we're almost missing out on top four. And oh, things under Allegri were terrible. We were
and
everything
they
was dry, but at the same time, 15 points clear. And you could argue in 2018, with the Michael Oliver situation, we could have won that Champions League. So we got so unlucky.
And
But yeah,
even in the season where we played Bayern Munich, where there was those dubious calls that
yeah, yeah,
for offside and things like that, and then Evra just needed to clear the ball, and that was a strong team we had as well with Pogba's last year with us, and Dybala enjoying some great form as well. Um, so yeah, I'm right with you there.
yeah. And one thing I loved about him is even that week after we got eliminated against Bayern, we played with Torino and won like 4-0 or 4-1 as if nothing happened. So he installed this mentality in the players that you should take every game seriously, whether it's the team that's in first place or 20th place. And that is something that I loved about him. And the attitude of the team was so much better. And the manner in which we lost in the Champions League, um, like overall, people give the hats off to Juve for what they achieved in those Champions League. Whereas in the last 2 years, it was like we got players with outrageously high wages, and we lost against the likes of Lyon and Porto. So the losses were much more embarrassing, and we go through so many ups and downs in Serie A. So we definitely declined after Allegri left, and people keep saying, "Oh, we do need the rebuild." But I think if we finished like in seventh place with Allegri, then yeah, that's the right time to do a rebuild. But why would you want to do a rebuild when you're winning Serie A and reaching advanced stages in the Champions League every year? So you should wait. You should wait until everything breaks down, and then you start a rebuild. But
And
there was really, yeah,
they were
yeah,
under the impression that everything was breaking down because it
yeah,
didn't look good. Like,
yeah. And
the
they were
actual
15
play
points clear in first
wasn't
place. Yeah,
entertaining.
and 15 points clear in Serie A. So and they say, oh, we need modern football, but now that we have seen like Pirlo, and he's trying to adopt, this modern approach, and it's simply not working. And people keep saying, "Oh, give Pirlo time; he will improve. Give him the players that he needs." But I don't know if his improvement is going to be fast enough to get us even close to where we were with under Allegri. So, are we going to wait for 3 or 4 years? Are we going to invest in so many players just with the illusion that, oh, Pirlo at some point will be the star coach and we will win everything? I don't know if this is the right step for the club to take. I think, yeah, they should have just kept Allegri and then waited until the team actually collapsed and then restarted from there, as opposed to just breaking something that's already working. And even like in the last year, the midfield was terrible. So if they gave Allegri more transfer windows and more players, I'm pretty sure he would have done better, because he did so well in 2015 with that amazing midfield. So yeah, so I feel that he was very underappreciated, and his reputation is getting better, even though he's doing like absolutely nothing nowadays.
So I have two questions for you to kind of end off
Yeah.
this post match.
Mhm.
One, were you under the impression, given all of the changes uh, preseason, that this was a rebuild? And did anything change in your mind up until this point?
I mean, window, the transfer window felt like a rebuild, because we got rid of. I mean, I know they're on loan, but we got rid of Douglas Costa, DeCilio, Pjanic, and we signed Arthur Kulusevski and Chiesa. So overall, and McKennie, overall, we had a positive impression on the transfer window, because we shipped out players that we weren't able to ship out earlier, and Higuain as well. So it did feel like kind of refreshing, but I don't know if I would call it a rebuild, because it doesn't make sense to have a rebuild when you still have Ronaldo, who makes like 30 million a year. So if had they sold Ronaldo and invested in other areas on the pitch, then I would call it a rebuild. But I feel that signing or getting Pirlo as a manager felt as if, let's try this random thing because maybe it will magically work like Guardiola at Barcelona. That's what it felt like, because Pirlo has never coached before, and I think in hindsight, I think it was not good for him to take this job, because he may develop like a bad reputation. He should have maybe taken like a smaller job first, and or maybe he should have stayed with the under 23. So this whole thing is just like a mess, and getting Pirlo didn't make sense, and I wouldn't call it a rebuild. So no.
And segue, because you mentioned Ronaldo being on, the salary that he's on. Sell him or keep him?
I'm leaning to sell him, so I don't see how. Like we do need players for other parts, for other positions in midfield and on wing backs. And with Ronaldo, that's extremely hard to achieve. And given that we're not in a good position financially, and with COVID and all of these things, I don't see us getting players who are good enough to feed into Ronaldo and then make the best out of him. And now if we evaluated Juve before and after Ronaldo, I feel that before Ronaldo we were much more balanced and we played as a team. And after Ronaldo, um, I would say that we did get a bit worse. The excitement of signing him and having a legendary player on the team was very positive, and we all like him, and he has a good attitude. But at the same time, I feel that we acted much more like a team before him, and now there is like too much attention on him. And I liked it more when the team was full of just like those hidden gem players who do well like in every match and are very consistent. So the team felt more like a unit as opposed to just a one-man team.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that at this point.
Yeah,
Uh, Especially given, I mean, his performance today was just really awful. And it's not a knock on him as a player. Like, we all know that he's one of, if not the greatest player, potentially even of all time. Um, and currently you can argue that for right now. So it's hard to keep him around while the rest of the team, kind of suffers. Um, and it's hard to fill in the holes when you have to pay this guy that amount of money. Um,
yeah, and he's 36, so yeah.
yeah, and then, like, if you extend him, no one's gonna pick up that contract. Essentially, you don't pick up the contract, but he's not gonna leave if he's getting paid and, not performing well. Like, why would he leave? And that's been our issue in offloading these players like Kadira and, Higuain and, all these guys who, why would they wanna leave if they're just, chilling and making the money? They're not gonna get that money from another team.
And I would argue Dybala is in a very similar position right now. So they haven't agreed a deal, and it's
Mhm.
kind of frustrating to have a player like him. Like this season, he did like almost absolutely nothing,
Yeah,
and
he's taking the year
yeah,
off.
yeah. And people say, "Oh, but he was good last season." So every time he does well in a season, then they basically act as if this is going to be a good excuse for him to play terribly for the next 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah,
best is when, people try to, I mean, I ask people what do they see in Demirol, and their answer is, "Well, Chiellini can't go on forever." I mean, so I asked you what you saw in Demirol, not about Chiellini's age,
yeah.
Uh, so, I mean, no one can really tell me what they see in Demirol, just his age. I know his age, and, I can search it on Google, and I can search Chiellini's as well. So I really don't get that. No, to this day, no one has really answered me.
Well,
I know that.
he posts funny jokes on Instagram and he
Yeah,
has nice gifs on Twitter. That's what they see in him. Yeah.
and he's aggressive, and I get that because of his inability to contain himself and not be reckless. So that's already depicted on the field. And in a time where VAR exists, that doesn't really do anything positive for you. Being aggressive and being that borderline reckless defender. I mean, he can't even tie, 38-year-old Pep's boots. Pep was outstanding today. Um, and, he would he would be one of the top defenders on our team with that performance. And we fed into Pep's play too. Like, the guys at
Mhm.
the back, they we could have put crosses in all day, and, near the end they would have just kept heading the ball out. He was magnificent back there. I want to thank you for coming on this stream. It was probably
Thank you.
tough. I
Appreciate
was
it.
I was
Yeah.
I I was pretty upset, and I was actually gonna message you. Maybe we should do it tomorrow night because I was too upset. But um, I mean, it is what it is at this point. There's no reason to be upset. I actually predicted 2-0. I thought that we would get the early goal and the game would open up. Um, but it turns out that, despite the numerous amount of times that we shoot ourselves in the foot in the first half of games, we have not learned. And, that's Pirlo and his boys being naive. And, it's not acceptable for a team with the stature, of Juventus, to keep making the same mistakes and not learning from them, especially a team that is so traditionally, concrete and determined and resilient. Um, so that's how we're gonna end this off. Hopefully, we flip it around against Cagliari, and give us hope. Uh, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So thanks again, and hopefully we can do this again, soon, and maybe on a more positive note.
Ciao, guys.